Welcome everybody to the Great Canadian Aftermarket Trade Show virtual conference session on women in industry. Well, with me today, it's my pleasure to have Josie Candido of High Park Master Mechanic, who has really carved out a very special place in the industry and in her community. I think all who know her would agree, but we'll dig into that some more. And Catherine Jones, who is an exceptionally skilled young professional in the aftermarket, having been named the young professional in the aftermarket previously. So a real standout. We're going to talk about their experience in the aftermarket, how, and maybe dig into a little bit how it might have been different because they are both women, or maybe not different, and where they see it. And maybe we'll pick up some pointers on how we could make it more welcoming for those who come in as women into the industry. So I'm gonna start actually with Josie here, just to Josie runs a well. I'll just Josie, tell us a little bit about your shop and how you see it fitting into the community.
Well, we've been there since 1999, so it's been 23 years. It's been a heck of a journey. I started working at head office in 1992, and I fell in love with the industry. I could talk about it on and on. Anybody that gets me on the phone knows, like, I could just keep going on about the automotive, something I love and I'm passionate about. Um, so when I saw the location up in the late 1998, I was helping franchisees, and I learned that there's something that could use my platform, and I loved having interaction with people. I thought the community would be great and we would be a great fit. And it's been a heck of a journey since then. So there's so many memories. There's too many to even talk about. I love it. It's been welcoming. There's been many people that have supported me. I've surrounded around people that my community, my team, and other people in the automotive industry that have always cheered me on, ignored any noise in the background. If I didn't feel it was whatever, I just ignored it. And I just kept trailblazing and following all the other women that have trailblazed in our automotive and any other sector, any women that have made changes over the last even 100 years. And it's been incredible.
Sure. Let me just one of the things that uh, has really people have really found frankly kind of amazing and inspirational in the community that Josie's shop serves is their signs. And I'm just going to see if I can find one here that I pulled up before, and oh, I don't know that I can. But they're signs like uh, just with inspirational messages and messages of hope in the community. These are all very well received, I think, is probably the understatement in the community, and helps really to distinguish you, not necessarily from the competition in that sense, but as an entity within the community, right?
When I started, part of opening the shop and trying to cut down those bias and make it an inclusive an environment that people walk in, they don't have to stress. And it was so weird. Honestly, I got this Google review yesterday, and it literally put me in tears. And it's literal customer, it's literal. And I just would love to read it because it literally, I don't know, summarizes what I am, what I want my team to be, what I want it to be in the community. Her name's Emma. It's a Google review from yesterday. And I don't think I could have written this. Like it's almost too perfect. The most important thing in a mechanic is honesty, integrity, quality of work. Master Mechanic High Park has those things. but they also have a real part of the community and a business with a social conscience. I literally smile when I drive past their colorful murals and inspirational signs. Every other week, they seem to be participating in a charity drive or supporting a social cause. All if none of that matters to you, they still have a really good mechanic, which is all of them, but especially Rui. He can do anything. I can speak to whether their prices are super competitive or not in Toronto, but I've gotten my money's worth in the customer service, time, and patience. No matter how busy, they always make time and effort to answer questions and help their customers. They are super transparent when discussing repairs, and they will let you know if something can wait without compromising your safety. I was so stressed about finding a local mechanic because, as any single woman knows, and of course I'm quoting her, um, yeah, as any single woman knows, go back, that it's like walking into a repair shop and immediately feeling that you're being taken advantage of. I've never had that experience before. I really regret not finding them before with my other vehicles. Um, I mean, the only complaint she had is she hasn't met Charlie yet. So I haven't, I've had COVID and some other issues, and she hasn't met Charlie. So she says, my only complaint is that I've never met their dog mascot, Charlie. I'd love it if when I call to book service, if they would inform me if Charlie would be around that day. That would just be helpful. So as for me in the industry and my team, I, I, it sums everything up. It sums up my 23 years in career and what I wanted to achieve and all the things I wanted to achieve. I use my business as a platform for all the stuff that I represent: inclusivity, fighting for women's rights, for if it's the food bank or period purse or any association that I have with, all important to me, especially animals. But the only part of it is sad is that I believe, and hats off to the whole industry, I think there's no shop owner out there that is trying to not do a good job or not treat everybody well. I just think maybe we can all still do better, including myself. I always achieve for perfection to do the best. And I hope with time, because it's not just inviting people to the industry to work, women to work, but also as women are coming in, when they're in your showroom, do women feel different that you're treating men? Have your service team as an owner, you have a service advisor team. Are you making sure that you're treating anybody that's walking in equally? Men, women, LGBT community. There's so many stories. I know a TikTok that went viral that an LGBT couple didn't feel comfortable going to even get their car done. So I got tagged on it from multiple customers to say, hey, you got to go here. So we want to make this environment. People are avoiding to spend the begrudged service because they don't feel comfortable coming in. And if you ask any shop owner, nobody would want to sabotage your own business. But my only recommendation is maybe try to look at yourself internally and see what you could do. Make sure that when you're talking to men, women, LGBT community, you're talking equally the same. Make it feeling inclusive. I'm not saying you have to do the things that I've done. I've included stuff in my life, and there's murals of the Leafs and the murals of dogs, and there's murals of superheroes. There's all kinds of things, and butterflies and flowers, and I'm into Star Wars and all kinds of stuff. But that's something that's unique to me. But at the end of the day, our job is to make everybody feel inclusive. If we want people to join the trade, we want women to belong in the trade, we have to start even with our own customers, that they feel comfortable. How are those people as parents going to recommend to come into the trade if they themselves are not even comfortable? Would you recommend to your child to come into the trade when you're not even comfortable walking into a shop? And I think people take also for granted that maybe men think more about a car than a woman does. Hey, there's Google, there's Siri, you can ask anybody on the internet. So, and also have that in view, that your customers are all educated. All they do is got to look it up. So transparency with also, again, having an open mind. I also had a conversation with a shop teacher this week, and he needs to place a female co-op student. We've had many in the past, and he's concerned about her placement. He goes, I have a daughter, which is great. So people are like stepping back and and asking the questions, making sure that somebody's comfortable. But he asked me if we placed her because we said we were at capacity, and asked if we can make a consideration to have her because he knows she would be comfortable at the shop. Now I know my neighborhood. I love all the shop owners. I think we have a great, to me, they're never a competition. To me, they're my friends in arms. We go, and it is a hard business. And yes, we're all addicted to it and we love it. And at the end of the day, we want to give good service, fix the cars. We all want the same thing. But why are people still uncomfortable with us? It's a begrudge service, yes. But what are we doing to make every single person? It's a people. It's like we can't look at as male, female, or what gender, what background. We need to include everybody to feel. So maybe for a second, we could just look back and say, hey, am I doing the best I can? And I'm sure everybody is, but we can always just look inside ourselves and what can my team do to make people feel comfortable? What are you gonna do to get those co-op kids? And imagine, like, in World War II, what happened? Who went and did all those jobs the men were doing? Women, and that was temporary. Imagine now, we're in such a crisis. We have nobody to hire. Imagine if women joined the force. Imagine for having inclusive shops that women do feel comfortable working there. I have 2 service advisors. I'm so proud of them, both women. And of course, Rui, who is incredibly patient and so understanding and so progressive. And I'm so proud of them and my team. They make everybody feel welcomed. And I hope that that's one thing I could rub off. And again, I think the whole industry tries their best. And I just hope that's something we could rub off a little more. I'll stop talking. I talk too much.
No, no, that's amazing. Well, Catherine, there's an act to follow.
Sorry.
I mean, Josie is I think, I know that this is sort of women in industry panel, but I think, it's Josie being Josie is amazing, clearly. Whether it was just Joe or Josie, what you're doing is clearly fantastic. And why we're here to talk, but great lessons in there too, and messages. So Catherine, tell us a little bit about kind of your entry into the aftermarket, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about if there are times when, I don't know, tell us a little bit about your experience, and if you feel that at some points there were times when it could have been a little bit better, maybe if you'd been a man or something.
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in this industry. I'm 4th generation to continue working in the automotive aftermarket. When I was in high school, I actually had my sights set on being a technician. I wanted to work on cars. I love cars. They are my passion. So it was actually my high school tech teacher who said, do you know about the Canadian Automotive Institute, now Automotive Business School of Canada? And then I had my sights set there. I went to Georgian, got my diploma in automotive marketing, went down to Northwood, got a bachelor's in aftermarket management, came back to Canada and went, yeah, this is it. This is what I want. So started my career off selling oil and outside sales, joined some other prominent companies within the industry. And now I'm here at Dorman as key account manager for one of our largest customers across Canada. So I absolutely love it. As Josie was saying, this industry, we're addicted to it. We love it. The passion. I love what I do every single day. I say I sell car parts and I love that. But really, as a female in this industry, there has been some hurdles I've had to overcome. Prior to Dorman, I was that feet on the street rep in Toronto and out to Ottawa. Part of what I had to do was technician training. And so there in itself lied some hurdles because it was my job to walk into that technician bay, set up my projector, my screen, and train technicians. And here I was, a young female in the automotive industry, training technicians on jobs that they pretty much already knew how to do. And I was coming in with tidbits and tips and tricks on how to do that job quicker, more efficiently, turn cars in the bay. And I had to convince these guys that I knew what I was talking about. So I've always said, as a female in this industry, my best tool is my knowledge. So knowing my product, knowing how it works on a vehicle, that is That's almost like my shield almost. So because there has been many times in those training or sales presentations at large WDs or at jobbers across the industry that I have been tested. There has been questions asked to me that I know would not have been asked if I was a male standing in front of that crowd. So knowledge is my armor. Knowing my product, knowing my value proposition, knowing what I'm there to talk inside and out, that's how I can almost prove myself that I'm worthy to be standing here. And I can't wait for a day, the work that we're doing, Josie, myself, other amazing females in this industry, no longer have to stand in front of that crowd and prove themselves. And we are getting there. So I'm really excited to see more and more females coming into higher up roles in the industry. One thing we're continuously talking about at AIA is diversity. And that's diversity across all aspects, not just race diversity, gender diversity, but making sure we are hearing from the entire industry, from suppliers, all the way down to technicians and those end users that are using our products. So it's we have a long way to go, but we've really come a really long way as well.
Sure. I mean, it occurs to me. I mean, both you, Josie, and you, Catherine, are both extremely passionate about the industry, and certainly, that's not a rarity in the aftermarket. But it's not always the case that people coming into the industry see it as the only option that they want to do, and that they'll just overcome every obstacle. Have you? I'm going to ask this first of Catherine. Just looking at some of the barriers that you face, could you see that as being something that maybe is slightly less passionate or not committed to this, like this is the road they want to be on, and just saying, as a young woman, like I can go do something else while I'll be eat more and won't have to put up with this pushback and just leave the industry, or people who think, geez, I'm going to get pushback, I'm not prepared to do that, I want to go somewhere where I'll be more accepted, and are we losing talent?
I think that might be a hurdle. At the same time, it's been really interesting working with many of the players in the aftermarket to see how many females, or even males for that matter, are working here, working for our WDs, working for our jobbers who had absolutely no line of sight that they would ever end up in the automotive industry. And then, of course, you still have a bunch of people in the industry who have that passion, and their passion is leading them. And I think as a female, if you have a passion for this industry and you really love cars and car parts and making sure your customers are happy and they feel included, inclusive, and it really does set you apart. It's almost my entire career as a student and then as a working professional, the one piece of feedback I always get is I lead with my passion. So I think having a passion for what you do in any industry means you're waking up every day and you're not actually working. You're there just doing your job, and you're happy to be doing it. So I think definitely passion leads, but there's a lot of people in this industry too that they're here because of their path that got them here, and they were never really fully expecting to join the industry, whether aftermarket, OE, or anything. So it's interesting when you see that. And I think back to the women's conference that AIA puts on. I can remember the very first women's conference. It was a lot of admin, a lot of females coming from a lot of prominent industry or companies within the aftermarket in admin roles, HR roles. And the great thing about that now is 10 some odd years later, we're seeing more people come in from operational or logistic roles or sales roles or even higher up. And that makes me so excited to see that switch there.
Sure. I'm going to ask you, Josie, if you think back to, I mean, I know you said that you obviously had experience at Master Mechanic. You were working in the admin office and the head office there. So you had some kind of, I'm going to say, advantages coming into the shop when you decide to make the move as an ownership. Was there still some groundwork you needed to lay there to get kind of acceptance from the staff there, or was it were they, hey Josie, we already love you? Or was it something in between?
You know what? It's a great question. My profession, my education was an accountant. I happened to, my first full-time job other than Canadian Tire when I was young was literally Master Mechanic. So I've literally had the same employment since 1992 with Master Mechanic. so I mean, Andrew Wani was the owner. There was other franchisees like Dan Peterson, in the industry, Joe Mercanti. So I had people like in the background, and I focused on my advisors and the people that supported me. I always put that noise, and there was a lot of noise in 1999. I could say an example. People had a bet how quickly I would fail, and you just shrug it off. And I did. I had my goals, and like everything I read in that Google review where I wanted to be. So I had things where I wanted to be. Now with the industry for women, any woman that's listening, or anybody that knows women, we have a crisis in our industry. We have a huge crisis. By 2025, even more people are going to be retiring. Imagine if we welcomed women, what a solution we can be for the industry. So it needs to start at home. Are people at home? Would you tell your children to come and work in the trades, in the automotive trade? I was on an AIA panel about 7-8 years ago, and I asked the crowd, would you advise your child to get into the trades, become a mechanic? Everybody in the room put their hand up. And facts state at the moment that that is not the case. We are in crisis. Every shop owner out there is in crisis to find people. So I'm trying to change the scenario. Let's talk about hiring people, men, women, transgender, anybody that wants to get involved in the thing. But it has to start at home. And then it has to go into school. And then it has to go to high schools. And then we need the job programs back. And then we need the shop programs back. There's a whole culture that needs to change. Are we teaching our children that, yes, you don't have to go to university, you can become into the trades? If you're a female male, we have a people problem. We can't even attract men. We can't attract women. We're not attracting anybody. So like there's a whole thing. And now I know the Ontario government is trying, and in our neighborhood, one of the schools has been, Bishop Morocco in our area has asked by the Toronto Catholic District Board to do a video to encourage the trades. And myself and Rui have been asked to talk, and I've actually give them a recommendation to also interview for this video that they wanted to go on to television, radio, and as an ad to encourage the trades, to even talk to JF at AIA and Diane Freeman at Arrow. I mean, we need to put it out there, and the culture needs to change, or the industry. Now, what we can do from women, hire them, mentor them, get them at co-op, change your environment at your shops, be more welcoming to everyone, and try to get more people more passionate about the trades. There's good money, there's a career, there's jobs. Like, people are dying for like a career. And as a woman, as a man, you want a career, a settle, empower yourself. Even in my community, the Redwood Shelter, Women's Shelter, they have programs in the trades that they're connected to get women back and get their lives back and everything they've been through with their kids, and they put them in the trades. So we need to continue. We all need to be advocates and keep at it. Yes, 100 years ago, women couldn't vote. We couldn't have a bank account. We couldn't have a credit card. I mean, you look back at the history of, oh my God, like, we were considered property of a husband. And you think now, yes, we've made some progress, okay? It's not that bad, but we got to keep going. Like, we need to talk about people, and we need to refer it as, what are we going to do to attract people of all backgrounds, and doesn't matter who you are, and attract it back to this trade. You can make excellent money. And we also have to do, I'm into paying people well, and I'm into this top thing. I won't even pay anybody under like $18 to $20. I don't care if it's down at the tire person. We need to give people the right pay. You want, attract this stuff. And also, as for your competition and people, we need to talk proper about our competition. We're soldiers in arms together. We're not against each other. We need to keep together, elevate the industry. If you want to attract anybody and attract men and women, because women could solve this problem. Imagine if men and women came into this. Women is the solution. If you think about it that way, imagine having to pull from both genders or any gender or non-binary, transgender, whatever, whoever wants to work and wants to be in the industry. And yeah, you need to find the independence, the passion. Now, if you don't want to be in the trades, that's another story. But we need to start encourage it. The culture needs to start from home. And are the parents doing a better job teaching parents to be more, teaching more about equality and stuff? Yes, they've done a great job. The millennials, and hopefully we can teach the alphas a lot more, and we can keep going because the boomers are retiring. So we need to do something, and we need to do it fast. We're 20 years behind at least.
Well, I think you touched on it, Catherine. We had a question from the attendees. It was a pretty big question, and I think that certainly Josie has covered off some of that about why is there a lack of workers in the automotive trade? I mean, there's a lot of reasons, though, right, Catherine? I mean, I know that being working also with the AIA and the workplace workforce studies, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
And that is a big conversation that's currently happening at the AIA right now. I am just handing over my chairpersonmanship, I guess, if that's how you want to call it, to the new YPA chair, who I don't think it's been announced, so I'm not going to say who it is, but it will be announced at AGM next week. And I'm also part of the Ontario division, and I hold my volunteer time with AIA very close to my heart because we speak a lot about these important initiatives, and that's getting more people into this trade. I also go back quite a bit to the Automotive Business School of Canada because it is one of my biggest passions to continue talking to students and letting them know of the opportunities in this industry. One of the greatest phrases that I heard last year that I've kind of taken and used it as my own is, we need to lift as we lead. So as we are moving forward in our careers, we need to continuously look behind us and see who's coming into our positions and who's coming into those entry-level positions, and making sure that we're lifting them up and preparing them for the future. I love calling students our future leaders because they are going to be our future leaders. All my work with ABSC, it's honestly, it blows my mind because I walk into that school and a lot of these students are OE this, and I'm going to go work for a dealership and nice shiny rims and cars. And it's like, have you heard about the performance side of the aftermarket industry? And we're not just dirty car parts here. There's so much to it. There's collision. There's so many different avenues and opportunities for jobs here, and getting that out there and letting people know about those opportunities. And then also that for the trades, I'm in my 30s and going through high school and kind of thinking about what we're going to do after high school. It was drilled into us. You have to go and you have to get a degree. That's what you need to do. So I think that focus and that switch now needs to go back to trades, and those skills are what's going to be moving our economy forward. Too many people are out there with a Bachelor of Arts degrees, and what are they even working within their field? So we need to push more and more students that are in high school into those trades, talk to them about the programs at Centennial, and really have that awareness top of mind when we're speaking to any of our future leaders. So it's a big problem, but we're starting, and anybody that's going to speak to any type of student or college level, high school level, we need to be talking about our trades.
Sure. It occurs to me also that through the pandemic that we are, hopefully seeing the tail end of, fingers crossed all around, the automotive aftermarket in particular was one industry that was allowed, as declared to be an essential business, was allowed to keep operating. And a lot of folks working in other industries that didn't have that, have found themselves looking for other work, frankly. I look at from the standpoint of folks coming into an industry and seeing an industry that's pretty stable, continuing to grow, lots of opportunities. Even Josie, a lot of people in industry wouldn't think they could go from a head office to like owning a business. It becomes your admin career, and it's just an administrative career or whatever, a corporate career, if you want to call it that. And not making that transition to entrepreneurialism is something that I really believe the automotive aftermarket is particularly open to, and we're going to see more of that as more people retire or look to sell their businesses. And so getting folks in at the right end is super important, and being honest about the opportunities that the automotive aftermarket can provide, regardless of where you are on the gender spectrum or LGBTQ 2S identity. There's some opportunity to not just have a job, but to do pretty well if you're willing to put the work in, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, there's service advisors, technicians, jobbers. There's so much in the industry. You can just keep going and going. There's so many jobs. There's so many opportunities. Again, it has to start at home. Has to continue to grade school, high school. It needs to continue. Need to be part of it. Advocate. Be part of organizations like AIA and Aero, which I'm part of both. I've had the privilege of being on a few committees and also doing like surveys, some of the surveys that come up through AIA. And it's an incredible finding, and the stuff that we need to do better in the aftermarket. And I mean, essential, like, I mean, hats off to all of you, and that we were essential and we kept the economy going. I mean, without vehicles moving, where would we have been in the pandemic? I mean, hats off to everybody. And we had to work, we had to go into people's cars, and COVID and all those measures we had to take. Like, hats off to everybody. We're surviving this, and I know there's many variants, and people that haven't even had it for 2 years are getting it right now. And we still have to keep our doors open, make modifications, do many modifications, but here we are. We're a place to be. You can have a job, you can make money, you can have a career. It's not just, hey, just like it's something you could do just because you don't feel like doing anything else. No, that whole perception needs to change. It's an incredible thing. I love the industry, and I'm gonna sit here and I'll always keep advocating till one day we don't have to advocate for women to keep doing this, that it's not a topic anymore, because they're out there, and we're all part of this. So that's my hope. And you can shoot for the moon, and if you land at the stars, you do great. And that's what I feel. And I guess my favorite quote ever is, people will maybe forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they're never gonna forget how you make them feel. And that's the feel I want. If it's encouraging women, encouraging people, encouraging everybody from every background to get into the trade, get involved with your local schools. Like, we don't want to get to just Centennial College. We need to start earlier. And hopefully, and again, working with the politicians in my local area. I've advocated in Ottawa for animals, and I advocate also for women in positions, and the stuff going on in Toronto, like so many things. I'm both involved with my MPP and PP in the area. And again, we got to keep advocating and pushing. And I know AIA and Aero are both advocating, and just like, being able to get information in a few years, because they're advocating. And there's that MP from Milton, who's doing great to get those laws passed. So we can get the information, so we can stay in the aftermarket, or 600,000 plus people are going to lose jobs if we don't get this information. So there's so much in the aftermarket to be involved with. And I encourage everybody to be involved with these organizations, read your articles, be involved, subscribe to stuff, stay current. You have to stay involved and get involved with your community and the kids at the high schools, and try to be in. Like, I'm like, me and the shop teacher, Rui with the shop teacher, we have a relationship. The one previous, the one now, the one that Rui grew up with and unfortunately passed away, but the new shop teacher, and we just gab about the industry, go into the school, gone into school, talk to the kids, inspire them. And again, let's inspire both male, female, transgender, whoever, to come into the trade, and let's keep going. And also government officials, and we just got to keep at it. So.
Right. Yeah, Catherine, I think about your story, listening to Josie, I think about your story about, even though you have, multi-generational family involvement in the business, but you had that one conversation, or maybe it was more than one conversation, with a shop teacher who said, hey, do you know about this, at the Automotive Business School of Canada, that set you on this path. And speculation tells me that, he could have very well said, oh, you don't want to go in automotive.
He could have. He definitely could have. And as a teenager, I realizing that I may be following in my father's footsteps here. And of course, as teenagers do, I went and worked for a dry cleaner, and I tried my hand at working at an OE dealership because it was, oh, maybe I'll rebel a little bit and I don't want to do what dad does and everything. But really, it came down to this is my true passion and this is what I love doing. And it was actually a conversation with my shop teacher because I came to him discouraged after my co-op as a technician. And I said to him, I love cars so much. And this technician who's training me tells me that at the end of the day, he goes home and he doesn't necessarily want to work on his own cars. And now that's the mindset of that one person. It's not the mindset of the entire industry. But I kind of went, I don't want to not work on my own cars at night. So how can I do something that I love so much, but also keep that passion alive? And I think it's really going through and figuring out all the different opportunities that are in this industry. And that's what I used my co-ops for at Georgian. I did 3 co-ops at Georgian, and I say the best thing I learned from them is what I didn't want to do in the industry. Like I got to walk away at the end of 4 months, no bridges burned. But that's where I realized that outside sales, that's what I love doing, because I can walk into a jobber or an installer, automotive service provider, and kind of figure out like, hey, how can I bring more value to you and your customers with my products, my programs, all that sort of stuff. So it was like trial and error. Where do I fit in this industry? So mentorships, I think mentorships are a great thing. There's initiatives that still very ground level. I don't want to speak out of turn, that YPA committee might be taking a look into, because we really think having industry professionals connecting with students who are still figuring out their place in life can help them bring more people into this industry and show them the multiple different types of opportunities. So, because my shop teacher could have said, oh, I don't think you want to go that way, but fortunately for me, he kind of laid out all my options and went, you can keep doing it this way. I think you could have a great career. You love cars, but have you heard about the automotive business school? And I hadn't. So having somebody there to kind of help guide us and show us where those opportunities are it's a phenomenal thing.
Let me ask you a kind of a follow-up to the earlier conversation about going in, being, the role has changed some for you, Catherine, and you've grown into the roles and your experience has grown. But do you find, or do you believe that as a woman, your approach is maybe different? Does that provide an opportunity for the company you're working for to try something a little different with maybe different customers that weren't responding to, the guy going in?
I think so. I think as females, we pick up on different things. We pay attention to different things, and we approach everything a bit different. When I first started at the oil company, it always made me laugh because I was doing a lot of cold calling then. I would just walk in and say, hey, here's who I am and here's what I do. How can I help grow your business? Everybody thought I was a customer. I took them full by surprise. And by that point, I had already spied out what oil suppliers are using, all that sort of stuff. So it's like you kind of fly under the radar, and then all of a sudden oh, wait, you're selling me something. So I always laughed at that because they never expected it out of me. So, but I think as females, there's just certain things that we pay attention to, little detail or something like that. I know for sure when I was making all my sales notes, uploading in Salesforce or CRM, I would always kind of put a section of, well, what did we talk about that wasn't business? Did he tell me something about his wife or his daughter, some of that more personal? And you'd always figure out a way to incorporate that back into the conversation. And it's like, oh, holy crap, like she remembered that. And it breaks down that trust barrier and having them trust you more. So I definitely think we have an advantage of females from our male counterparts, and kind of those little things and how we operate and foster our relationships. At the end of the day, people buy from people who they like and have relationships with. So as a female, if it's easier for me to foster a relationship, I'm going to have some good sales numbers that month.
Right, right. What do you think about what you're hearing from Catherine, Josie? Does that all ring true with you?
Catherine's spectacular. One of my things is detail oriented customer service. She said all the magic words. Um, it's incredible. I mean, women are magical. We can do anything we put our minds to it. To any woman that's listening, you make any goal, you can achieve anything you want. The woman's body, whoa, what she goes through and what she can accomplish. And when there's a woman that wants to get something and succeed in something, whatever she may want to do, it's an incredible force that you would want on your team. Also, when you have if this, like a lot of the schools went away from these, going back to the kids a little bit too, the, the high schools got rid of their shop programs. Like Central Tech in Toronto used to be all trades, got rid of it. So once these young kids come to you, don't just make them sweep the floor, inspire them, mentor them, inspire them. Men, women, doesn't matter who they are, inspire them. Don't just like use them as your shop garbage thrower. Like, I mean, you need to inspire these kids if you want them to come. The crisis is there. And as women, I look at that and I'm like, no, this is not just about, doing this. And it's something that I brought to the table. We need to inspire these people. We need to hire women. We need to be an example of what we can do and what incredible things we could do working together and working together with men. And funny enough, I don't have a single family member in my whole like genetic DNA that's even a mechanic. And I don't know, I'm enthralled. I don't know what I did in my past life. But I am completely enthralled in the automotive. And anybody wants a career, and again, to men, women, if you find you're in the industry and for some reason someone is saying something to you inappropriately, the best thing I ever learned was from an ombudsman. She said to me, turn to the person. It doesn't have to be like an argument and even uncomfortable. They just said something you don't like. You turn to them and say, is that how you would want your daughter or your mother or your sister to be treated? Let's keep the wife out of there. um so like, is that how you would want your loved one to be treated, or is that how you would want, like, in their situation? So like, yeah, like let's have in perspective, like everybody has one of those people in their lives, so put it in perspective, like make them really educate people. So if you're a woman, you're in a situation, use that line. It like saved me so many times in my career. Use that line. Or men, think back, like, would my daughter or my sister or any female influence in your life, your mother, would she be comfortable in the environment at the shop? Or would employees be other employees that come in, or the co-op students come in? Are we respecting them and make them not respect the trade and treat them like they're at the bottom of the barrel? No, we have to inspire these kids to come on. So, I think is a very important part of it is how we lead and what we do to make the industry more inspiring for all to come into it.
Yeah,
And women, you got this. You can do this.
yeah, it's interesting. Very early on in our conversation, you mentioned, sort of paraphrasing a little bit, how take a step back as a shop owner, or and watch how your staff is interacting with customers, and think, are they doing it? Are they treating different customers differently based on maybe how they look or how they act, or how they believe their orientation to be, because we don't always know. It's not necessarily, I'm going to put words in people's mouths, so I apologize for that, not necessarily intentional, right? It's just they're
No, like that's why sometimes you have to look back. And I've had actually peers, like other franchisee owners, come and observe me for the day and see if there's any tips. Like, I've always keep humble. There's always stay humble. Treat everybody the same. Like the saying, they go, the CEO, the janitor. Like, you always have to stay humble. You're not above your employees. You're a team. So you treat everybody, your customers, anybody that walks in the door, doesn't matter what car they own, doesn't matter how they dress. It doesn't matter who walks through your door, or how you answer the phone, or what language they speak, or what happens. Everybody deserves customer service. Yes, we're on the business of repairing cars, but we are in the business of customer service. We need to give it. We need to be better than the dealer. We are better than the dealer. We don't have to worry about the dealer. It's us. Focus in the aftermarket. Focus on what you're doing. Look at yourself. Look at what you could do to be better. Like our friends in our neighborhood that own shops, we're buddies. We're friends. We're not. We don't have to worry about each other. Focus on what you're doing and how to make people feel you're not. And I don't want to say the word mansplaining because it could be a woman service advisor, but the way you've been talking to someone about the repairs, like they don't understand it at everything. Like I said before, people do their searching, like the way you talk to people, make them feel comfortable. And with the repairs, you need to make your customers feel that, you know, you're talking to them and you're advising them, you're giving them recommendations, and to trust and transparency. I there's digital stuff to help you with that too, but you have to keep in the relationship, add the digital, great repairs, and you have some magic happening. That's a lemon in there.
Yeah, yeah. I have a question from the attendees. Diane Freeman, Executive Director
Hi,
at Automotive
Diane.
Aftermarket Retailers of Ontario, asks, do the panelists, both Josie and Catherine, feel we need to educate the parents on our industry so they can encourage their kids to come to into the trades? I'll get Catherine to start with
100%.
this.
Sorry, go ahead, Catherine. Sorry,
It's okay.
Catherine.
I just got to mix it up here.
Yeah.
Oh, I 100% believe so. And that's one thing I think we're still kind of fighting against the stigma of what our industry is. And it has changed so much. I mean, we have so many service providers out there like Master Mechanic that care deeply about their customers, and they're all about transparency and customer service. And then one bad apple comes and ruins the bunch. So, but that's not always the way it is. So educating parents on this is a great industry that your kids can join and then have a great career in, a fulfilling career, a career that can bring them so many different opportunities. It's key. It all starts at home, as Josie has said. And a lot of kids are guided by their parents and where they should go to school, what kind of programs they should take. So I definitely believe that that's part of fighting the stigma, that we are, as an industry, here for you, here for the safety and the longevity of your vehicle, because we care about your safety on the road. And that's what it's about, is making sure that we start at home, really.
What do you say, Josie?
100%. If it doesn't start at home, it doesn't start as children. You know, bias, racism, being any issue in society, it's at home. It starts with the children. We need to start there, and then when they go to grade school, and then the high schools need to have more programs for the trades. They need to come back, and the government needs to get involved. We need to have mentors, the automotive trade. Everybody has a part, and if it doesn't start at home, and you're raising your kid, they have to be a doctor or a lawyer. And if they become into the trade, that, you know, that's just like backup if it doesn't work out. And it needs to be, yes, you can make money, you can have a career, you can have a steady job. And again, them perceiving they're going into a mechanic shop and it is a respected. And I mean, we keep people on the road. We get people to Halifax to go to their trip for their family. We do something important. We keep people safe. We like, that's our attempt. It's always to keep people safe. There is not one person listening or one shop owner that's not going to say that when you wake up in the morning and you go to work, that your job isn't to keep someone safe. And that's not what their priorities is, to keep people and their cars safe and advising them properly. Every single person wants that. So we just have to continue it, and hopefully, you know, as the government gets involved, as we get involved, and more chatter happens, we don't stop till it keeps going back to where we were, because the trades were important back when the boomers were around, and then something happened along the way. I'm on the X generation, so I'm a little bit on all sides there. We go along with everything. We're easygoing generation. But yeah, we need to go back.
Right,
And
right. I
hope
mean,
my
I know,
daddy's
like,
proud.
speaking from experience, you know, I grew up in a household where quite literally my father upturned two garbage cans and then built a race car on them. But when it came to taking shop at school, he's like, no, I'll teach you that. You know, and clearly they couldn't keep me away from it. But, you know, and probably for everybody's larger benefit, I did not become a technician. because I don't think I have the patience for it. You know, and then I think that plays itself out all over. He was a tradesman, and you know, I wasn't going to stay in the trades. I was going to, in his perception, you know, take higher schooling, right? So, and there's still a lot of that perception. But you know, I have a question from the attendees. Do panelists think that one of the reasons that there's a lack of workers in the automotive trade is because of some sort of bad reputation that the automotive shops have, or the trade in general, that causes people not to want to get involved in the trade? What do you think,
I'll let
Josie?
Catherine speak. Should
Okay,
let
that's fine.
Catherine speak. See, I feel like I speak too much. Yeah, I can answer it if you want. Let her go first.
Go for it. I have a few 2 cents I can add in after.
Okay, go ahead, Josie.
Okay. I believe that every shop owner is proud of their shop. I believe that it's a begrudged service. That's where it starts from. So all I can say is I don't believe any shop owner goes and to deceive anybody. I think sometimes mistakes happen. And I think as shop owners, maybe if that mistake or your mechanic technician has made a mistake, own up to it, be accountable, fix it. That's all the customer wants. So in that stuff is that perception, I think we're better than we're used to. I think we still can make, the industry does still have a little bit of that perception. I still hear it from people. So we just got to keep going. Like I said, shop owners, look at yourself. Whoever's listening to this, look into yourself. What else you can make? What can you do for that bias to disappear forever? Unfortunately, it starts with when you buy the car and you go into a dealership or you buy a used car. Experience sometimes not so good. Then you go for your warranty, and then the dealer gives you a hard time. Sometimes, you know, that's where I'm never worried about the dealer, because I already have customers that I literally have to call the dealer to advocate for them to get something under warranty that should be under warranty. And they're saying, I had one person just a month ago that they said, oh, we said, this is on the recall. Well, it's not on our computer. It doesn't show up. Even though the recall's there, we can see it. It's not on their computer, so they don't care. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. You're going to change the motor on this particular Hyundai with this motor. So like, we advocate for people. So that's where like I try to put the dealer world aside, and I think that's where it starts. It's not us. I think it starts from that world, because you know, every other day there's on TV is a show what dealers did or what happened, and when they bought a used car, and all the negativity around it. So that's where it starts. So by the time they come to us, we want to give them that good experience. And again, transparency, honesty, and all those things that people are looking for is just what we can continue doing to stop the stigma, stop the bias, and we can just keep going. I try to lead by example, and I am 100% sure that every shop owner on this thing believes they're doing the same thing. So we just got to keep at it, and eventually people will believe it. And the bad apples, well, they're the bad apples. Eventually they're going to disappear. They won't survive. So we just, I always focus on the most versus like the one or two bad apples, you know, because eventually they'll be washed out. They'll be flushed. So let's focus on it and continue on our path, because we're on a good path.
We've certainly seen all of the kind of ghost car shows on expose news items where, you know, they go to 12 shops. They go to 12 shops and they're like, but these 3 shops, you know, did something crazy. You know, the 9 of the shops were great. And then that they stop talking about the 9 shops, and then they focus on the 3 shops or 1 shop or 2 shops that were just grasping at straws because they didn't have the training to execute the repair. And then they get nervous, and then they're in front of a camera, and then they're saying all the wrong things. And you know, they're not always, the one thing I will say about, you know, this industry is not always the best communicators.
We just got to keep at it in the news and getting out there and advocating and showing positivity in your communities. Let your communities believe that you are different, that the aftermarket is different. You know, dealerships, they're corporations. I'm not saying they're going out to do anything wrong either. Like, by all means, I'm not trying to put any negativity on, but like when it starts from buying the car, that's where it starts, or a used car, or like these segments that come, or customer complaints that they have to go to the nice man on the TV and help them fight something because they bought a used car and they're in a disaster, or the kilometers have been pulled back. But look at all the stories they talk about. How rarely do they talk about positive stories? I've had you know, like so many positive thumbs because of my signs and the messaging and the stuff I do. I've been fortunate enough to have positive stories. So many to even like it's been the biggest achievement in my life. Like every single memory I have, and event or even any review. Like I feel so blessed to be in the industry and what I've been able to accomplish. But you know, we all got to do it together, and I think we can. I think we're better.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch up because we're down to our last 5 minutes or so. So I'm gonna ask anybody who's it's been awesome, Josie. Anybody who has any other questions, please put them through on the chat now. But I wanted to ask you, Catherine, from your perspective now, you know, with the responsible role and some years in working in the industry now. What can maybe larger organizations do or mid-sized to encourage and support women coming into the industry and kind of I mean, you mentioned, you know, women have been in HR roles and roles such as that, and maybe some marketing stuff for a long time, but in the less traditionally female roles, what can the companies do?
In terms of attracting women, I think we need to really have some mentorship programs. I think there's some big companies that can have some mentorship programs. They can work with schools and really encourage more females to take a look at opportunities into this industry. But really, as a whole, in Canada, I think we need more co-op placements at the higher levels of the industry. Because once you get to jobbers and service providers, those are where the majority of our co-op students go today. We need more manufacturers, suppliers, vendors in this industry providing co-op opportunities to students today. We also need more warehouse distributors providing co-op opportunities, so whether male or female. But we have been seeing a bigger influx of more females interested in this industry. So we really need to figure out how we can get them not only interested, but applying to our companies. We need to figure out how we can attract them and keep them. I think training is key across all sections of the industry sectors, training, mentorship, co-ops, those are probably the big three to get any new blood into this industry.
Excellent. Excellent. If there are any other questions, please ask them now while we just kind of wrap it up here. But it certainly sounds like there's been improvement over the last decade or so in acceptance of women. There's certainly no argument, at least from where I sit, that there are some excellent female professionals bringing a whole new dimension of value to the aftermarket and their communities. Josie, looking at you, in very special ways, but not just Josie, others as well, you know, who are, I know there's one shop owner who I'd hoped to have on this panel who's like, I'm in Hawaii. So I'm going to have to take a pass. So you know, Josie is definitely not a one-off. It is really a place where at many levels, Catherine mentioned in logistics, in management, in finance, you know, the head of one of our largest warehouse distribution organizations is a woman. And of course, we all know, even at the OEM level and the automakers, they've all been very, very well served by female executives, very professional, very effective for a long time now. So it's not new. It's not a question of being token females at all anymore, but there's certainly a lot of room for a lot more, right?
100%.
Okay,
Yeah, I
good.
want 50% and more females on our sales team because I'm tired of being like 4 of 100. So
okay. So room to grow for sure.
And yeah, I have quite a few relationships with the other female shop owners in Toronto and across Canada, and some from the States, and there's so many. I am in contact with all of them, and I have done mentorships, and I will continue to mentor and you know, continue to hire women. And again, we can only lead by example and keep at it in every area. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And Evelyn, you inspire me. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this. And I probably could talk for the next 24 hours.
Me too.
Well,
Yeah.
we won't make Josie talk for 24 hours. We're gonna make her stop and go rest for a while. So this has been fantastic. Thank you everybody for attending. Thank you Josie and Catherine. Look forward to seeing you all in person before too long, I hope. And everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you. Next session tomorrow at 1 p.m. The digital shop, your importance of your digital footprint with InMotion branding, and Todd Richardson. Hope to see you all there. Thank you very much.
And go Leafs, go.
Yeah.